Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We see that a bunch of attendees are entering into this webinar. We're going to give it just another minute or so, and then we'll kick things off. So hang tight. All right, let's get this thing started. First off, my name is Katie Lowell with Smiota. I will be your facilitator today. We're so grateful and thankful for the time that you're taking out of your day to spend with us to learn a little bit more about smart lockers on campus. We completely empathize with you in trying to navigate these foreign experiences that we're going through, but our hope and intention for today is that you walk away with learning something new, learning something more about smart lockers, learning the shared experience from our special guest, benefits of smart lockers, and then also some other considerations across campus. So without further ado, I am excited to welcome our special guest, Warren Porter, a special education consultant who has graciously taken time out of his day today to share his experience with us in living in the mailroom life on campus, pre-smart lockers and post-smart lockers. So Warren, if you wouldn't mind just spending a minute or two, tell our friends here a little bit more about yourself.
Well, Katie, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Well, my name is Warren Porter, and I've been in higher education now for about 20 years. Once I got out of the Air Force, completed college at the University of Mexico, and I've been working on college campuses, Texas Tech, University of Mexico, as well as privatized companies. So I've been a part of P3 partnerships, as well as privatized housing that wasn't part of the university. So now I am trying the higher education consultant gig, and we'll see how that goes.
Perfect. So, all right, everyone, here's what to expect. As you know, this is a Q&A style webinar, so you will not be hearing me talk at you guys, but rather we'll be learning from Warren, and we have a bunch of questions for him. And even though you all are on mute, it doesn't mean that you can't participate. In fact, we welcome and wish for you to participate via the Q&A or the chat. It allows you to be anonymous if you so choose to. And we would love to, as Warren is sharing his experience, please ask questions if you want more details. If we have time at the end of the presentation, we will go through those. If we don't, we're still going to answer them. We will send them in a follow-up email after this webinar with some other information, but we'll have the question and then the answer posed in case we don't have time to get to that. So please, again, use the chat function, use Q&A, and even if you feel so inclined to share some of your experiences, we're always looking to learn. So with that, let's get the show on the road. Here we go. Obviously, the place to start is, Warren, can you share with us, what did it look like before you guys had smart lockers?
Well, the last institution and organization I worked for had a contract at UNLV. So when I arrived in March of 2017, as I was meeting everybody, I was asking, what's going on? What do we need to work on? What do we need to improve on? How can I help you? And it was unanimous. It was the mailroom. We need to do something with the mailroom. So and I want to give shout out to Don Talatino, who had a nice system, even though it was paper, but that was one of her concerns as well. So we walked through the process, and I had promised when the students left for the semester that when you come back, we will have a new system. I didn't know what it would be, but I just knew that I had to come up with something that was better than what we had currently. So we had 6 buildings. We had 5 desks. We have one mailroom where everything is delivered to, and all of those packages and all the mail would have to be delivered to those 6 buildings into the old, either old mailboxes for the leaf mail, and then of course packages would go behind the desks, which made the desk assistants basically just clerks like at a post office. So as you can see, our log, and I'm sure everybody's familiar with that, packages come in, you log it in, you make sure that that log also is at the desk, so if someone comes to that desk, they would have to log and make sure that they collected it, so you can have some chain of custody that they picked up their package. So that's an old system that has been used ever since I've been in the industry. This is before even utilizing a barcode reader. So they didn't have that at the time. So that was one of the things too we looked at, and we'll discuss that later. As you can see, it took quite a bit of manpower to handle these packages. Dealing with the schedules as well as the students, and as it changes during the semester, you have to make arrangements as well on how you're delivering your packages to these desks. And sometimes management would have to get involved, moving away from their normal operations and dealing with the mail. We had a total of about 30, actually 45 student workers at the time. Each one of them at one point or another would be involved in the packaging, which also caused some issues with some were more proficient at it than others. So that was also an issue we had to work with.
Okay, so you already kind of mentioned this, but what other options did you look into before you started exploring these smart lockers?
Well, great question. One of the things we looked at was the barcode reader, because I had worked with that before at a couple of the properties. And basically what would happen is the packages would come in. You still have to have someone at the desk to accept the packages, take the barcode reader, scan it, and then it would send a message out. But you still needed space to hold on to those packages until someone collected it. So at the moment, it was more efficient than a log system, but you're still taking a lot of space and a lot of man hours of students who could be doing other things like leasing or making phone calls instead of working on packages. So we didn't think that that was a good option for us. And our whole team was a part of this process. So we want to make sure that everybody is comfortable with what we're looking for and what we decided to choose, go with.
Right. So that sort of gave us the lay of the land of what it looked like before smart lockers. The obvious next question is, can you take us through what it looked like with smart lockers?
Well, I'm amazed at how simple the whole process went. And the fact that 75% of our students are freshmen coming in out of the 1,800. And they picked it up so quickly that it was amazing. And we had no issues. We pretty much do basically a couple of paragraphs for training to let them know what to expect. And we had no issues whatsoever. I mean, it was just a simple process where we still have our central hub. We still deliver the packages to the 6 buildings, but we strategically placed lockers in every place where a student doesn't have to leave their building to pick up their packages. It was amazing to us. We were flabbergasted by the success.
That's great. Could you, if you don't mind me interrupting here, could you, I guess, bring context? So you guys were used to a paper system with the logs that we saw on a previous slide. Can you give us context to what that user experience was like with using that mailroom software, that's Myota, the app that you used, versus the paper logs?
Absolutely. It would take maybe 10 to 18 hours for someone to get their packages. With the smart lockers, I have actually delivered the mail as well. And as I'm scanning and putting packages in, I have students literally coming down and getting their packages within 2 minutes of me actually placing it in there. So I think that's the best example that I can give.
Perfect. Now, the other thing in our conversations with now again versus paper logs, this app automates that chain of custody process. Would you mind sharing the importance of that, or any thoughts around how now things have that chain of custody and things are again are documented?
Well, the record keeping is important. Some of our students are very knowledgeable about the chain of custody. So, and they order a lot of packages, so they're coming in constantly. We even know who they are. You know, we see the packages so often. So the chain of custody is very important. And you look at the logs, it's paper. So things can get lost. A student can make a mistake and not put someone's name, not have someone sign for a package. They can come back and say, hey, I didn't get my package, even though they might have, but they might have forgotten, as well as we forgot to have them sign it to say, hey, you did pick it up. So I think those things were very important in this looking at this new process with the smart lockers.
Great. So yeah, please keep telling us more about the smart lockers. I'll stop interrupting you.
No, it's fine. So we place them in different locations. I know they have refrigeration as an option as well, but we don't really have that type of need for it. I can see possibly the need for it maybe at a larger school in the middle of Chicago or New York or something like that, NYU, University of Chicago, something like that. But we didn't need it, so we didn't go that route. And once it was installed, the process, again, the training was simple. The training for the students, they picked it up so quickly. Our student staff picked it up in the short period of time that we were training. I even picked it up, which is amazing. So it's just, packages don't stay very long in the locker, as explained before. So if for some reason, if you receive some packages late and you're going back to the lockers to put more packages in, the space is there because students are picking them up in a reasonable amount of time. And you see it just clicks. They take their bins, they go to the buildings. We even have a cart for them so they can drive across campus to take them to the other buildings, because it is kind of spread out. And I'm sure other universities, people on there probably have their residence halls spread out all over the place. So we did have a cart for them, and it's just quick and easy. And we have just a certain number of people designated for the mailroom now. So we actually have mail clerks instead of having community assistants that are doing the mail.
Perfect. Yeah, so I mean, the minutes and seconds sound like they add up pretty quickly, even when just at face value, it doesn't look like much, but I'm assuming throughout the year, there's a ton of benefit from that, which kind of leads us to our next question. What other benefits did you guys see from the smart lockers, and what did they provide you?
Well, there's definitely a financial benefit. Students could pick up their packages, of course, 24/7, and they didn't have to leave the building, so they didn't have to walk across the campus to find a package. We didn't have to double our staffing in certain areas, usually between 3 to 7. So that was significant. We had a 24/7 desk that primarily was there because we didn't have any space to store a lot of packages in that particular building. So we literally had people there at 4 a.m. just guarding packages. So now you have students that don't have to be up at 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. or 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. And I've worked those shifts in college, and they're not fun. So that's a plus. We've had literally five mail clerks since we started with the smart lockers, and we've never had to add more. We've always been able to accomplish everything within a few hours with that 5. One of the 5 would be, and I want to give a shout out to Kendrick. He has been with us since the beginning and just graduated. Kudos to him. And he picked it up so quickly, and he was our point of contact for everything, for the lockers. And they were all student workers. We never had to hire anyone permanent. Very rarely did any of the office staff have to work with the lockers. We saved an enormous amount of money, and we knew we would save money just because of the 24-hour desk and the double staffing. But we didn't realize how much we would save, and that was significant. And I think we impressed the university with those numbers. And the customer service value, again, as it says on the slide, it is priceless. They can get their packages in less than 2 minutes once they arrive.
Right. Before we move on, I guess back to that number with saving over $73,000 a year, it's a twofold question. One, were you surprised by that number? And then as a follow-up to that, from your experience, was this type of savings unique, or do you think other universities could see something similar to this?
I think, yes, it was a surprise. I was looking for more, maybe 10,000, 15,000.
Okay.
So this was definitely significant. And I even had my assistant director go over those numbers again to make sure my numbers are correct. And we did it at least 2 or 3 times. And yeah, absolutely. I think definitely some of the large universities out there that have between 7 and 12, 15,000 students. The Texas Tech has 7,000 students on campus. Ohio State, Michigan State, 12, 15,000. Absolutely. I think it would be, the cost benefit will be out exceedingly more than what we've saved with 1,800 students.
Right. Okay, so then of course we have to ask this question. Were there any gotchas after you installed the smart lockers?
There, for us, and operationally, no. I'm not from Smyrna side, if they had any gotchas. I can tell you an interesting story about flex drivers from Amazon. Now, we did, from external, we did, and for whatever reason, the Amazon flex drivers would always come after delivery time and try to deliver the packages wherever they can, because they didn't know, right? They're just picking up a package, delivering, they didn't know campus. So it took us a couple of months to find out who's responsible for Amazon delivery in the area. Say, hey, can we just have this one system? And we finally got that worked out. But that would be the only kind of gotcha, but no one expected that. That was kind of interesting.
Great. And then were there any concerns with integrating into any existing software, mail software?
No, not at all. It's our THD system, our operating system worked well, integrating the names of the students and the PeopleSoft with the university, along with the technology that the smart lockers and Simota had. So no, that wasn't a problem at all. Just a matter of getting everybody together to make sure that it's assimilated just fine. So no, that was easy actually. That was an easy process.
Perfect. Okay, so as I understand it, you guys didn't stop there with just packaged lockers. Could you tell us what happened next after you guys had these installed?
Yes, Katie, Katie, we were thinking about, I wanted to get rid of the lockers, period, the old lockers, period. They're ugly. A third of the students don't even pick up their mail. We know this because we put newspapers in and letters and we check it periodically. I mean, for the whole semester, people would not pick up their mail. So as you can see on the slide, everybody knows what they look like. And eventually, I'm sure they're going to do something with that space. But then you have the key situation, which is always a problem no matter where you are. You're always losing the keys. Everyone loses their mail key just about, at least half the students. And then you charge them $25, and then you have to deal with the appeal process afterwards after they move out. Why did you charge me $25 for my mail key? I never picked up my mail, right? So trying to get rid of all that and make it more customer friendly, we were talking just before, actually at the installation of the lockers, was how do we do leaf mail? How do we get the leaf mail into the lockers as well? So that was an ongoing process that we worked through that year as we tested the mail package lockers. So we came up with an idea to, we get our own barcodes, we put the barcodes on the leaf mail, we scan it in, and we treat it just like packages. Now the bulk mail, we were working with the Postal Service, the local postmaster. So the bulk mail we would put out at each desk if people wanted to pick it up. Obviously, if you have your name on your mail, you will receive it. If it's not like occupant, we just put it out. nobody was picking that up either. So we started just to recycling that, and that hasn't been an issue for us. So after about 3 or 4 months, we decided to just start recycling because no one was picking up the coupons, no one was picking up anything that was bulk mail. And that definitely expedited the process of delivering the mail, leaf mail, to the smart locker. So everyone picked it up very easily. We just sent a mass email out, let everybody know what the process was. We tested it out over the summer school. It was just as simple as when we started the lockers for the packages. Not a problem.
Perfect. One question, sorry, I'll just interrupt. The notion that, I've heard or read, the leaf mail, it's going away. So do you have anything to say about that?
Leaf mail has not gone away. We still have students who receive letters and birthday cards from the grandparents and sometimes their parents. Not everybody is into electronic mail or gift cards. I have an 85-year-old uncle who used to work for the Postal Service in his career. He still pays his bills by check. He will not go online if he doesn't have to. He does have a smartphone. So there's still those grandparents out there, and even parents that are still utilizing leaf mail. Do I think in the future that leaf mail? Possibly, but not right away.
Sure. So obviously looks like a lot of time saved from the smart lockers. And I think this was a great example of something that maybe people don't think of when it comes to mail and handling mail and how you can handle it differently. And I think, and back to that picture previously, I mean, that's a lot of wall space for for some mailboxes for keys that I personally probably lost every year, right? So with that, let's switch gears. What I'd like to do is let's talk about post-COVID, or what universities are talking about right now as they're trying to figure out what this next year looks like as we're working through this pandemic. So I guess the question is, we would love to hear more, or maybe it's a comment. We would love to hear more about the types of conversations that you're having with the universities, or any insights that you can share with us that are taking place.
Well, everything is so fluid. Just recently this week, and I'm sure probably everybody on this seminar knows, Duke has decided to decrease their density on campus by about, I think, 30%. So instead of having so many students live on campus, now they're decreasing that. How do you manage that process? Before I left at UNLV, we were moving people in, but we also had spaces available for those that we had to quarantine. We had spaces available for those that were concerned about having roommates. We had increased our cleaning process. We were looking at providing packages, and some other schools were doing that as well. Masks, some sanitizer, some of the no-touch gadgets as well. It just depends. Again, I'm not sure if anyone's seen this, but University of North Carolina system, their staff and faculty has filed a class action suit to extend the start date. So there are so many things that are going out there. I know that one company has collaborated with Lysol and doing some things there. No one has the right answer. Everyone is just doing this based on what's going on with CDC and what they think is best for and safe for everyone. So there is unfortunately, one system that's going to work. You can utilize the single space concept, which would be one person per space and no doubles. You can go to a single suite space, which will definitely eliminate a lot of density, where one person has the whole suite to themselves. You would block off the other side, but they would have that bathroom. So, I mean, there's a lot of different options. We don't know what's going to work. I think we just make the best decisions that we can, as the CDC suggests.
Yeah. With budgets being a concern going into this next year, and the notion of trying to minimize or mitigate the shared surface of what people need to touch and create contactless experiences. Do you have any suggestions or alternative solutions that universities could explore if wanting to look into these smart lockers and again trying to create these contactless experiences?
I think leasing options are a possibility. And I've been to a couple universities where I've sat in meetings where they've said that, well, we don't lease anything. We just pay cash. And I thought, well, I can see that concept, but why not lease something for a few years and open up capital for other things? So I think leasing option will be definitely a great opportunity for the university to utilize. They want to purchase smart lockers.
Sure. Okay, and then last but not least, again, with this notion of contactless experiences, we have a list here, but we would love to hear more about across campus. We tend to think about smart lockers just with package delivery, but where else do you see these lockers playing this sort of pertinent role, again, to create the contactless experiences?
Well, I think you have three great examples there on the slide. I have been pushing for bookstores, universities to get rid of bookstores in general. With all the ordering online, you can get a t-shirt from your university a lot cheaper than you can from the bookstore. And it's a lot easier to just order your books online, have a bunch of lockers, and you can take all that property space and utilize it for something else. Universities are always looking for space, always needing classroom space, storage space, spaces to expand. Bookstores nowadays is just, I think, outdated, which we've seen over the last 20 years. No more Borders, Barnes and Nobles is limping along. So bookstores are a big thing for me. Just get rid of them.
Sure, perfect. Okay, so that wraps up our questions. We do have a couple questions that came in, and we have just a couple minutes to answer those. So first question is, that came in is, what hurdle did you have to overcome, Warren, to be able to procure the smart lockers?
Well, that's a great question, and I didn't bring that up, but I'm glad someone asked that. We were a third-party contractor, so we did not have to go through the RFP process.
Okay.
If we would have gone through the RFP process, honestly, I don't know if we would have those lockers now. I really don't. We did go through a process of going through several companies and trying to find the best price and system, and we decided to go with Smata. But we did not have that process. So that's something all universities are going to have to work through, that they unfortunately won't have the same access that we did at that time.
Okay, and then we have time for just one more. Anybody else who has questions, please type them in now. We'll make sure that we answer them in our follow-up email. But the last question was, did you receive any feedback directly from the students after getting the smart lockers with, the ease of having, the text notification or email?
We sent out a survey through SurveyMonkey, and everything was positive. We did not receive one negative comment or feedback on the lockers. They loved it. They thought it was easy. Yes, we did follow up on it to make sure that we were providing great customer service.
Cool. Plus, there has to be a coolness factor there, right?
Of course, when you're dealing with old buildings, you want to try to, and you're competing against all these beautiful new properties outside your campus, you have to compete somehow. And we had decided to try to use technology, and part of that was the smart lockers.
Very good. Cool. Well, with that, wraps up our 30 minutes together. First off, Warren, thank you so much for your time today and your insight and your knowledge and expertise. We greatly appreciate it. And secondly, thank you everyone for joining this webinar. We really appreciate, again, you taking 30 minutes out of your day. We hope that you walked away with something new for knowledge. And here's what you can expect next. We're going to be sending you a follow-up email. It will have the recording for this webinar. We'll have a university brochure, again, just for your knowledge. The answers and questions that we had come in through. And then also we are sending out a survey. We would love to get your feedback. Again, any sort of insight that you can share with us, we're greatly appreciative of that. And then you can see here, we just have our contact information. Please don't hesitate to follow up with us for if you have any questions. And then certainly if you have questions for Warren, we can also help facilitate those questions to help make that connection. So with that, on behalf of Smiota, thank you, everyone. We appreciate your time. Please take care and stay well. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you. Thanks, Warren.
Are you still there?
Yes.